Right, I've typed this out and printed it because it's far too much information to memorise, and also I don't want to make any mistakes. So I decided to make this video after seeing an episode of BBC's Watchdog in which they exposed dodgy managing agents. On this programme they presented several tenants speaking about their issues with their managing agents. I was angered at the programme because they featured supposed experts who said there was nothing that could be done about these agents except performing your own RTM or right to manage company. They neglected to mention that you can apply through the Leasehold Valuation Tribunal to challenge your service charges at a minimal cost. I emailed this through to Watchdog twice but never got any response. I had the idea of making a video to put on YouTube explaining there was something you could do and how to go about it. The decision to finally do it came when a copy of News on the Block arrived on my doorstep. On their front page they headlined the Watchdog programme that exposes bad block management. In this video I will attempt to inform how you, as a leasehold tenant, can challenge unfair service charges. I moved into my flat about 8.5 years ago, and for the first 6 years I and the other 2 tenants in the property were quite happy with what we were being charged by the landlord. At some point in 2006-2007 the landlord offered us the chance to buy the lease for about £3,500, but we knew that a major supermarket chain had just been given permission to build a supermarket adjoining our property, and we assumed this was the landlord's attempt to lumber us with costly future work. So we ignored it, and it was sold, then sold again a few months later to our now ex-landlord. We were to discover that the landlord had given up the running of our property over to a managing agent, and that immediately bills were to increase. Basically, work either wasn't being carried out or to a very substandard level, and we were still being charged extortionate amounts for it. The bills increased and increased, and just when we had managed to scrape together to pay the newest bill, a new demand would come in telling us that they had actually undercharged us for the previous year's work, so we needed to fork out even more. I had the funny feeling that this company was doing this so we would end up not being able to pay, then evict us for non-payment of service charges. Something had to be done. Via a phone call to a solicitor who directed us to the Citizens Advice Bureau, we discovered the LVT, the Leasehold Valuation Tribunal. One of the things they did was dealing with unreasonable service charges. I downloaded the appropriate forms and posted them with the small fee required. I had to write on these forms why we thought our service charges were unreasonable. Then a short time later we were given an appointment where we were told the process of gathering evidence and information to form the formal bundle. I had to write on these forms why we thought our service charges were unreasonable. Then a short time later we were given an appointment where we were told the process of gathering evidence and information to form the more formal bundle, ready for the hearing. This was a time-consuming part. I, on my own, took photos around the property, got a third-party contractor to give us an alternate quote, cross-referenced all the tenants' paperwork for evidence, and printed out our emails. This was then formed into a bundle of several dozen pages, and 4 copies were needed just for the judging panel alone. In the meantime, between sending these bundles to the LVT and the hearing, about a month later, we discovered that we could form our own management company for a fee, and from there we could take over the running of the property, and the current managing agent could do nothing to stop us. Of course, they could dispute if monies were still owed, or it was found that our case was flawed, but we won, and the hearing found in our favour on nearly all counts. There are companies out there that will set up the RTM, right to manage, company for you, and depending on your level of involvement, it will cost somewhere between £300 and £1,200 approximately. I say this because if you have some knowledge of legal terminology and procedure, you can fill in the forms yourself. This is the £300 way. If, however, you are not, you literally just put your name and a few details on the paperwork, including what name you want your company to be called, and the rest is done for you. All the dealings with forming the company, registration, postage, communicating with the landlord, managing agent, are all done for you. This is the £1,200 way. This is the way we went, but the cost was split between 3 tenants, so it was less of a sting financially. You don't have to run the property yourselves, by the way. You can transfer the management over to a more trustworthy managing agent. The day of the hearing. In the morning, the 3 people who would be chairing the hearing came to our property to view it for themselves. I went around with them and pointed out what the issues that were contained in our bundle. They were really nice people, which helped in calming my nerves for the hearing later that day. It was me, my wife, and a representative from the managing agent, and the 3 people chairing the hearing that were in the room together. We both presented our arguments, and we went through the bundle bit by bit. When I spoke, I noticed that the panel appeared to have great empathy for us, and one even smiled several times. Their mood changed, however, when it was time for the managing agent rep to speak. Basically, it was like what you see in a court scene on TV. The little guy with pretty much overwhelming evidence in his favour, and the other side with the expensive lawyer that is able to make even the slightest detail in their favour appear damning against them. The good thing was, it was pretty obvious that these three were experts on dealing with people like this, so we never really had to worry, although at the end of it all I could have used a stiff drink, even though I don't drink. We were told that about 80% of cases fail because of lack of evidence, that even though someone might have the greatest argument in the world and be able to present it brilliantly, evidence is required in the hearing. So keep all of your emails, letters, write down the details of phone conversation and who you spoke to. I don't know what the law is on recording actual phone calls, but we didn't do it. And take digital photos of any work that has been carried out on the property that is in dispute. Another thing I suggest is to get a free quote from a builder on how much these works should have cost, if that work actually needed to be done at all, and if the work has been finished in a professional manner. There's no point going into the hearing with, that hasn't been painted right, has it? Because the response will be, how do you know? Are you a professional decorator? Now here's how to go about this. Search engine, in any search engine, type in Leasehold Valuation Tribunal or this website. Go to About Us. This section explains who they are, then Leasehold Valuation Tribunals. The LVT is an independent body set up to deal with leasehold disputes. Go to Forms and Publications. Under Leasehold Disputes, download the Service Charge Application Form. Here you'll fill in all of your details and your landlord managing agent details, and finally why you think you shouldn't be paying service charges or why you think they are unreasonable. In my case, I was disputing the service charge amount, that it was unreasonable because work hadn't been carried out at all, and the work that had been carried out was unprofessional. Basically, it depends on exactly what you're disputing, so I recommend that you call the LVT and they can guide you. You may just want the fast track no trial option or be disputing something else. I will leave all of the links to the LVT and the company Jordans we use to form our RTM company in the box to the right or the left or wherever YouTube chooses to leave it in the future. Just click them and it will direct you straight to the websites. Again, instead of me going into details about Jordan services, I recommend you call them both. They were very helpful and easy to understand. Good luck.